Welcome everybody to another box set review, and we're going to be going through Vengeance Trails. Now this was released by our video in July of 2021, so I'm a little bit out of past it in terms of getting through to this, but I wasn't entirely sure about lesser known spaghetti westerns back then, but in the last 3 or 4 months I've become really fond of them, so I decided to get this, especially since it was a lot cheaper. It was originally £45 and I got it for 30. So yeah, well worth getting. So yeah, I want to review all four of these films, released between 1966 and 1970. So right at the peak of the spaghetti western genre. And yeah, the first of those is Massacre Time. Now this was released in 1966. Directed by Lucio Fulci, who also did the really rather good Zombie Flesh Eaters and The Black Cat. But this is definitely better than both of those. Clocks in at 92 minutes long. Stars Franco Nero, who was also in at least two really well-known spaghetti westerns, Django and Texas Adios. But he was also in Force 10 from Navarone, as well as Die Hard 2 as General Ramon Esperanza. He's the guy on the plane that Bruce Willis ends up knocking out. And he's been in films as recently as John Wick 2, so he's still going strong. Also stars George Hilton, who was also in the Giallo film The Case of the Scorpion's Tail, as well as the one of the Sartana films. Sartana's Here, Trade Your Pistol for a Coffin, which is one of the 5 films that were released in that series, and unfortunately that's the worst of that series. So yeah, can't really recommend him in that film, but he's really rather good in this, especially since it changes it up in terms of spaghetti westerns, in the fact that we don't have a lone stranger in this film. And yeah, it's set in 1866 in New Mexico. Tom Corbett, played by Franco Nero, is a prospector who is called back to his hometown in Laramie Town, Texas, at the bequest of an old family friend. Tom arrives in the town to see it under the control of a ruthless and greedy gangster named Jason Scott, whose psychotic and murder-crazed son, Junior Scott, runs it with fear, with a posse of thugs, and who kill anyone who protests their business tactics. Tom finds his brother Jeff, played by George Hilton, a drunkard looked after by their family-made Mercedes. Tom then tries to persuade Jeff to help him take down the sadistic Scots so the town can rest easy in peace and harmony once again. So yeah, it really plays it up with having a proper good duo between these brothers. And yeah, you get some conflict between the two of them, but also you crucially get some really good gunfights as those two are going up against this posse of thugs. And yeah, although it does follow a lot of the conventions of the spaghetti western genre, this does everything so well that any lack of originality ultimately becomes irrelevant. Lucio Fulci, no doubt, is the main reason behind this, as he's a really good director, and yeah, he elevates a lot of the more well-trodden tropes in quality over any other similar efforts, as he not only keeps the plot moving at a fair old pace, but he also adds his trademark violence with plenty of brutal moments added in that provide not only motivation for characters, but it works well within the harshness of the environment, because it's set in the Wild West, and yeah, not a easy environment to be living in. And yeah, Franco Nero and George Hilton are great together. And yeah, the action scenes are really good. The score is well done. The cinematography is superb. It is well paced. The plot is engrossing. And the new Blu-ray transfer truly helped make this look brilliant. It's easily my favourite looking film of the 4. So yeah, highly recommend watching that. And yeah, one side of the poster that you get with this as well has Massacre Time on it, which is really good. And then another one of the films is also on the same side of the poster. So yeah, there's Massacre Time poster. Really do like that. It's got really like a kind of epic feel to it. And yeah, you'll see the other side when we get to the film that populates that side of the effort as well. But yeah, single disc release. So yeah, nothing mega special, but at least every film has its own case, which is a big bonus as far as I'm concerned. So yeah. Right, moving on to the second film. Now, I must say that if I butcher any Italian names, then I do really apologise. But yeah, this one is called My Name is Pecos. Also released in 1966. Directed by Musari Lucidi. I'm again, sorry if I'm getting that wrong. But yeah, I've not seen any films from him before, but there are a couple that I am interested in. One is called Possibility Zero, which is a World War II film co-wrote by Dario Argento, and yeah, another one called Street People, which, among others, stars Roger Moore in during his James Bond heyday, as it was released slap bang in the middle between The Man with the Golden Gun and The Spy Who Loved Me. So, yeah, really interested to see in that. This clock's in at 84 minutes long. It's the shortest of the lot. And yeah, stars Robert Woods as Pecos. I've not seen anything from him before, so I can't comment on him, but he is pretty good in this. And yeah, Pecos Martinez rides into Houston looking to settle an old score with gang leader Klein, who is after the money that disappeared from a recent robbery. The hunt for the loot and Pecos' quest to become intertwined with the efforts of the locals to stay alive long enough for help to arrive. So, yeah, not quite as good as Massacre Time. It's a little bit more ordinary. Comes across in a lot of ways as a lesser version of the Man with No Name trilogy. As yeah, it's a one-man guy, stranger, pretty much to a town, and yeah, he's just taking on this gang really. So yeah, and yeah, but this does at least do enough different while nonetheless being done well enough to be engrossing. So that is crucial. And like I said, Robert Woods is also rather good in the lead role. The supporting cast is decent. The action scenes are well done. The cinematography is solid. The plot is mostly engrossing, and it is well paced. But yeah, definitely not quite as good as Massacre Time there. But again, single disc release. Besides that, they've done different kind of printed on the discs themselves. So yeah, still a solid film. None of the films in this collection I actually hate, by the way. There's just two that are properly good, and then two that are just about okay. So well, I say but just about okay. So they're still likable, but they're certainly not the ones that I'd watch watch again immediately out of the four here. And then the third effort is Bandidos from 1967, directed by Massimo Dallamano. I hope I'm getting that right. He also did Colt 38 Special Squad, which is in the Years of Lead box set down there, which I really rather enjoyed. And yeah, but I enjoyed this even more. Stars Terry Jenkins, who I've not seen anything from before, but his only other notable role was in the musical Paint Your Wagon, which is my idea of hell, as that is 2 hours 44 minutes, and I loathe musicals, so yeah, that's never something I'm going to bother watching. But yeah, also crucially stars Enrico Maria Solano, who was in The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, also done by Dario Argento. A bit of a link there between mine and his Pecos there and this, and yeah, it was also in Savage Free and No, the Case is Happily Resolved, both of which were also in the Years of Lead box set. And yeah, this is about renowned gunman Richard Martin, who is travelling on a train, held up by Billy Kane, a former student of Martin's. Kane spares Martin, but only after shooting his hands in a really rather quite brutal scene. Years later, Martin meets an escaped convict, wrongly convicted for the train robbery that he was on at the same time as. Martin trains his new student, and both men seek out Billy Kane. So yeah, excellent film this is. I think, outside of the fact that I don't think the direction is quite as good as in Massacre Time, it is generally the better film. It's got more conflict. The duo aspect works a little bit better in this, as they're not brothers. You slowly see them become good friends, and I think that works a little bit better than being brothers outright. So yeah, but yeah, Massimo Dallamano is also famous for being a cinematographer, as he also did the cinematography for both A Fistful of Dollars and For a Few Dollars More. And he also apparently did the cinematography for this, although someone else's name is on that credit. But yeah, you can definitely see his style in this from those first two Man with No Name films. So yeah, and it looks superb as a result. Which yeah, in terms of cinematography and generally being a film, really does come close to being rivaling the best of the spaghetti western genre. The cast is great, it is well paced, the cinematography as a whole is really good, but there are some specific shots that are absolutely excellent, which helps set it apart from other films of the type, because it's really gets in with the action a lot of times. There's some really rather inventive shots. There's one that shoots a shot that shoots you right across the bar following a drink, and it's just really well done. The action scenes overall are really great, the characterisation is well done, the score is solid, the plot is highly engrossing, the brutality of the violence is far ahead of any American Western preceding this, and the production is convincing. You'd have to look to The Wild Bunch to find a more violent film than this from the Western genre in the 60s. So yeah, superb film overall, and yeah, really surprised me because, like I said, I've not seen much from the director before, although, like I said, I did enjoy Cult 38, and yeah, but this, like I said, far exceeded that, just in the same way that Massacre Time far exceeded the other Lucio Fulci films that I've seen, and yeah, Bandidos is the second film on the big poster that you get. Now, I'm undecided with which one I enjoy most, but I really do like both of them, to the point that I can't decide which one I like most, but yeah, still, it's really nice to get a big poster with this kind of box set. You don't usually get a big poster with box sets like this, so it's really nice to see. And finally, from 1970, And God Said To Kane. Now, this is directed by Antonio Margheriti, who I've not seen anything from before. Quite frankly, I look through his filmography and not much really interests me. Clocks in at 101 minutes long, so this is the longest of the lot. And it stars Klaus Kinski, Kinski. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but yeah, he was in a bunch of spaghetti westerns in the 60s and early 70s. He was in 2 of the Sartana films. He was in For a Few Dollars More, and he was in the legendary The Great Silence, as well as Fitzcarraldo and Venom from 1981. And so yeah, I've seen several of his films, and yeah, he always makes an impression, and he certainly makes an impression with this. Also stars Peter Karsten, who was also in My Name is Picos, although in a more major role in this, as he's the lead antagonist, unlike in My Name is Picos, where he's a little bit lower down, as well as in the rather underrated Zeppelin, World War One film. And yeah, this is about an innocent man sentenced to 10 years in prison for a crime he did not commit. Is released from jail and promising to seek revenge on the guilty. So yeah, it's not a particularly original plot, let's say that. And yeah, it is a quite basic one as well. It doesn't really explore all that much about the characters or, you know, all that lot until it really gets into the final act. It's a lot, everything before that is quite rudimentary in some ways, but I can appreciate that this spaghetti western is going for a lot darker direction. It's predominantly set at night for starters, and it's also got a bit of a flavour of horror to it. Especially with some of the kill scenes, one involving a bell that falls down and quite gruesome. So yeah, that tone and general atmosphere is appreciated, but it doesn't make it for a particularly fun or engrossing effort, to be honest. And yeah, which isn't helped by the rather simple plot. But that said, Klaus Kinski is really good in the lead role. The supporting cast is decent. It's being primarily set at night does help that atmosphere. The kills are reasonably varied overall. It's not just shooting, like I said, there are some more gruesome kills. It is well shot, has a decent score, and features solid pacing. I just wish, overall, that it was just more of it, because the final act is easily the best part of this, but this, for the first 40 or so minutes, doesn't really grip me as much as I would have liked it to have done, but definitely that final act picks up a lot, and yeah, that definitely saves it overall. And yeah, but still, again, nice printed disc, single case, and yeah, all of these have had 2K restorations as well, by the way, so yeah, well worth getting just to see them in the best format that they've ever had. And yeah, you also get a really nice booklet with this box set. Nothing printed on the back, but nice print on the front. And yeah, basically just goes through the films. You've got all of the cast and the crew that are basically detailed. And yeah, you've got write-ups on each and even individual film. So Massacre Time has a write-up called Lashings of Violence. My Name is Picos has a rum deal write-up. Master and Apprentice for Bandidos, and Divine Retribution for And God Said To Kane. And yeah, it talks about the restorations. And yeah, has some really rather nice shots of the films as well. So yeah, it's nicely done. That's Massacre Time, by the way. So yeah, really nice booklet, nicely printed, clear to see, and yeah, and it doesn't feel like it's going to fall apart at any point. And yeah, that's the same with the box as well, nice and thick. So yeah, overall a really solid box set. I'd say Massacre Time and Bandidos are pretty much are about the same level, about 4.5 stars out of 5. And God Said To Kane and My Name is Picos are about 3.5 stars each. So yeah, not a mixed box set at all. Some box sets you have a really high and then a low, a massive low, but they stay about the same really. It's only really because Bandidos and Massacre Time try other things that and succeed at it that sets them apart from the other two. So yeah, highly recommend getting the box set, especially if you can get it for a lot cheaper than it already is. But yeah, nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.